relaxing with you. You have quorum.
Today is August 28th, Tuesday, and we are here for the regular session of the City Council of the City of Coppell. There is a quorum present, so the time is 5:37. Sorry, I'm late. Call the meeting to order, and we will be in the first floor conference room for executive session, and we'll be back to let you know when work session begins. Thank you. Executive session, and we'll be moving promptly into work session. Please join us in the back. Thank you. Here patiently waiting. We have to wait until 7:30 so you can keep talking. Okay, the time is 7:30. Shh, shh. Okay, we are here for the regular session of the City Council. Today is Tuesday, August 28th. The time is 7:30. We'll call the regular session to order, and we have there you are down there. Pastor Wayne McDonald here from Metrocrest Community Church. He will help us with the invocation, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Father, we are reminded in the ancient Hebrew scriptures, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And since we're at a city council meeting, there will be lots of talking tonight. And we pray, Lord, that even though we may disagree on issues, that we would be agreeable in attitude towards one another, and that we would, each one, whether council, mayor, or citizen, each one would be looking out for the good, not of himself or herself, but of the citizenry of Coppell. And Lord, we ask you in advance to forgive us where we've used the power of the tongue in ways that are unpleasing to you. And we pray that you would guard our tongues tonight, and that you would give us a vision of a good and beautiful city. We thank you for your abundant blessings. To see this city over the past 3 decades has been such a joy. I pray that it would be a joy for every generation to come. And we ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
As he's walking out the door, dang it! You notice he didn't stay to hear the wagging tongues. I don't know if I should take offense to that or not, but anyway, we are here. Next item on our agenda is item 6, and we have Erica Slater, Lindy Kinman, and Rowena Ignacio. Please come forward. Welcome. Council, please consider this proclamation. Whereas autoimmune disease is one of the top 10 leading causes of death in female children and women of all ages up to 65, and is the most popular health topic for callers on the National Women's Health Information Center. Whereas the American Autoimmune Related Diseases Association, Inc. estimates that there are 50 million Americans who suffer from an autoimmune disease, more than cancer and more than heart disease. Whereas the disease can cause inflammation in vital organs and tissues, and once damaged, inflammation can be chronic. Whereas, while genetics play a role, autoimmune diseases are often unpredictable and misunderstood, difficult to diagnose, and can affect any part of the body and are hard to live with and are a challenge to treat. Whereas some of the most common of the over 100 recognized autoimmune diseases are juvenile diabetes, juvenile arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and psoriasis, and rheumatoid arthritis. I now, therefore, Karen Hunt, the mayor of the city of Coppell, do hereby proclaim September 1st as Autoimmune Disease Awareness Day in the city of Coppell, and encourage citizens to observe this day by educating themselves on symptoms and the impact of autoimmune diseases, and to support the programs of research, education, and community service, including the 4th annual fundraiser event that has assisted raising over $30,000 entitled Competing for Recovery 5K hosted by the City of Coppell. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed this 28th day of August 2018. Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I make the motion, can I make a quick comment? I just want to say thank you for all you do. I think you guys came before council 3 years ago. Is this your third race that you're about to have? Is that right? Fourth? Oh my gosh. I get a little emotional because we've known Hunter, Erica's son, since kindergarten, and he's actually in Gabriella's class again this year. An amazing, amazing child who has made strides, huge strides, leaps and bounds every year. And the fact that you've taken this issue and just made it a huge awareness and educated our community and so many other people, I just want to say thank you. And with that, it's an honor to move to approve a proclamation naming September 1st, 2018 as Autoimmune Disease Awareness Day in the City of Coppell and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Long. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I'm sure you want to tell us a little bit about the event.
Good evening. Thank you so much for your attention, Mayor. Thank you so much. To the council, thank you so much. We hope you guys those of you who are in town this weekend, again, as Mayor mentioned, our event's over here at Andy Brown this Saturday. We've got the fun run, the 1 mile fun run starting at 8 a.m. and the 5K starting hopefully about 8:30 a.m. We hope you guys can join us.
And our website to register is www.playtry.com, and it's PLAYTRI.com.
Thank you. And thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And next, Lacey McKinney, you want to come down? And do you want to bring some of your volunteers? Staff and volunteers. It's good to see you all here.
It's good to be seen.
This group always has the quick comments to come back. It's good. Well, that's true. That's true. Council, please. Item 7 is consider approval of this proclamation for a National Senior Center Month. So please consider this proclamation. Whereas older Americans are significant members of our society, investing their wisdom and experience to help enrich the lives of the younger generations. Whereas the Coppell Senior and Community Center has acted as a catalyst for mobilizing creativity, energy, vitality, and the commitment of the citizens of Coppell. Whereas through a wide array of services, programs, and activities, the Coppell Senior and Community Center empowers citizens to contribute to their own health and well-being and the well-being of their fellow citizens of all ages. Whereas the Coppell Senior and Community Center in the City of Coppell affirms dignity, self-worth, and independence of the citizens, facilitating their decisions and actions, tapping into their experiences, their skills, and knowledge, and enabling their continued contributions to the community. Whereas the Coppell Senior and Community Center provides opportunities for seniors to stay active and healthy, continue learning, share experiences, and stay connected with friends and the community members. Now, therefore, I, Karen Hunt, the mayor of the city of Coppell, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as National Senior Center Month in the city of Coppell, and encourage all citizens to acknowledge the importance and the many contributions of the Coppell Senior and Community Center, and to recognize the special contributions of the Senior Center participants and the special efforts of the staff and the volunteers who work every day to enhance the well-being of the citizens in our community. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Coppell to be affixed this 28th day of August 2018. Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. You cannot go to the Senior Center in Coppell without leaving with a smile on your face. That's just going to happen. It's truly one of the hidden jewels of our city. I want to thank our staff, who just does a fantastic job there, and all of the seniors who volunteer just a ton of hours to make that place special. I always say when I talk about the Senior Center, at $10 a year, it's the best bargain anywhere. And after using my Aggie engineering degree, I have carefully calculated that's less than $1 a month. So it is a bargain, okay? So with that, I will move to approve item 7, a proclamation naming the month of September as National Senior Center Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Is there a second by Councilmember Hill? All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Yay. Do you have anything you want to say about the things that are going on this month?
Thank you so much. I am Lacey McKinney. I'm the manager of the Senior Center. And so we are kicking off a campaign which is called Roots of the Community. And so throughout the month of September, you'll be able to hear some of the stories about our members and how they are rooted in their community and just the service that they give to the citizens and to the center. And so if you follow along, it's going to kick off every Friday. We'll release some stories. And so the website is called rootsofthecommunity.com. And we have some postcards right out front there if you need that. So welcome. Hope you follow.
Thank you, and thank you to each and every one of you for being here tonight and for all that you do. I know that this group right here is probably one of the reasons that you are the primary reason that we have done so well in the campaign that is in the spring for It's Time Texas. Thank you. Community Challenge. And you guys have been phenomenal. So thank you very much. Here's your enjoy. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item 8. This is a special request from our newest council member, Bijou Matthew. He attended a celebration for India's Independence Day and asked that we do a proclamation. So I will invite Mr. Kandesh to come forward. He is the president-elect of the Indian Association of North Texas. And then we have Dr. Tota Kura, who is the chairman of the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial of North Texas. And then Miss Tara John, the vice president of Kerala Organization of Dallas, USA. And council, if you will consider this proclamation. Whereas the multicultural people of Coppell have great traditions of celebrating significant milestones and events of historical importance. Whereas in 1947, India proclaimed its independence and became recognized as the Republic of India, marking the beginning of its identity as a free and sovereign nation of people. Whereas, as a growing democracy, India has proven to be a courageous nation, seeking to establish as its basic fundamental principles those same values which are here in the United States: freedom, opportunity, and justice.
Whereas the local community of people in Coppell who hail from India and the ancestral ties to India continually demonstrate their greatness and beauty of their homeland. Whereas the city of Coppell welcomes the opportunity to promote a greater understanding of various cultures of the world, and this occasion, the 72nd anniversary of India's independence, provides an excellent means by which Coppell citizens of all backgrounds can recognize the contributions made by the country and the people of India and extend its best wishes to them on the commemorating its historical milestone of independence. Therefore, I, Karen Hunt, the mayor of Coppell, am proud to join our fellow citizens of Indian heritage throughout the community as they commemorate the 72nd anniversary of India's independence. In witness thereof, I've set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Coppell to be affixed this 28th day of August 2018. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move to approve a proclamation celebrating August 15th as India's Independence Day and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Second. Councilmember Hill. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And I have one of these for each of you. And this celebration was on the 15th. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that celebration?
Yeah, so I attended a couple of events. One at the Mahatma Gandhi Memorial here in Irving, attended by the mayor of Irving. Friend of yours, Mayor, he said hi to you. And also another big event, which is represented by 100 organizations in North Texas. It's about more than 10,000 people attended, I believe it's correct. There were a number of elected officials were there, including the Congressman Pete Sessions, and also a number of state representatives, and Clay Jenkins, the judge, and many other elected officials were there. And it was a good celebration for people from India. We're celebrating the 72nd Independence Day. Everyone was thrilled and happy to celebrate in United States. You know, India and the United States are the two largest democracies in the world. So to celebrate that democracy here in the United States is a thrill for all Indians who migrated from India. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Okay, the next item on our list is citizens' appearance. We have one person who has signed up to speak, and that's Sabu Venhat.
I didn't want the paper to be black.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Subbu Venkat. I live at 933 Brentwood Drive. I took a long summer, otherwise I was here every city council meeting. So thank you all. So my citizens' appearance, I want to first thank Biju and Karen and everybody else in the council for recognizing India's independence. It's a small step for the Indian community, but a giant step for Coppell. So like Neil Armstrong said when he was walking on the moon, this feels like I'm walking on the moon. So congratulations for that. So I think in the same direction, there was talk about multiculturalism, and the pastor from the Jewish community was talking about multiculturalism and all that. There is this festival of lights that Indians celebrate, and Diwali is the big thing for us. So I'm requesting the council and Biju to champion that, to consider Diwali to also be proclaimed as an Indian festival, which comes up in October. So if there is a form to complete and if you want signatures, let me know. Maybe I need to go around and do that. But that's something, it's like Christmas for us. So that's my request, to think about Diwali being recognized as with the number of Indian community here. That would be a good thing for the kids especially.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. No one else has signed up to speak on citizens' appearance, so we will move to the consent agenda. Items A through C have been rotating on the screen. Consent agenda items are generally enacted in one motion. These items have either been previously approved through the budget or by past council action. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. And again, the full descriptions are on the screen. Are there any items that would like to be considered separately? Hearing none, I will accept a motion. Councilmember Hill.
I do need to close the public hearing, right, on this?
No,
It's
these
already
are
been closed.
just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items 11 through 16.
No.
8,
10, A
Sorry.
through C.
Sorry, so yes, 10A through C. Sorry about that.
Councilmember Roden, all in favor.
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. We have Jennifer Miller here to help us through the next three items. Item 11 is a public hearing, and as we talked about in work session, there is an action item here, not just to close the public hearing. So this hearing, I will open the public hearing, and this hearing is here to receive public comment and consider approval of the proposed 2018-19 budget for the Coppell Crime Control and Prevention District. Ms. Miller, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have 3 public hearings tonight related to the budget and the tax rate. This first public hearing is on the Crime Control and Prevention District, and it's required by Chapter 363 of the Local Government Code, and that requires the governing body that established the Crime Control and Prevention District to hold a public hearing on the budget that was approved by the Crime Control Board. The board held their public hearing on July 12th and approved the proposed budget after closing that public hearing. The Crime Control and Prevention District receives its revenue from the quarter-cent sales tax. The election for this sales tax was passed first time in November of 2007, and the district began collecting its tax in April of 2008. The initial time period was 5 years and would have expired in April of 2013, but in November of 2011, the tax was reauthorized for another 10 years and is set to expire in April of 2023. The Crime Control and Prevention District funds the School Resource Officer Program, community police and cooperation programs such as our National Night Out, Self-Defense for Women, Citizens Police Academy, the Enhanced Radio Contract, or Enhanced Radio Dispatch Center, and then Police Patrol Prevention Programs. In the past, this fund has been used for salaries associated with the SRO program and our dispatch center. We have done renovations to the Justice Center. We've done vehicle replacements, and then we have some police-related joint ventures with our surrounding cities. For fiscal year 18-19, the fund will currently provide 19 positions related to our SRO program and the Neighborhood Community Policing Program. This next fiscal year, there is 1 additional SRO being added to the fund for a total of 7 SROs. This addition is for the CISD 9th grade center. It will allow a more consistent coverage for the SRO program and promote better relations with the school. There's also an addition of a system administrator to manage the IT systems. This will allow some on-site assistance with the management, maintenance, implementation, and problem resolution of public safety technology issues. In the expenditure, the services category is primarily the payment for the North Texas Emergency Communication Center for our dispatch services. This is a joint venture with the cities of Carrollton, Farmers Branch, and Addison. Also included in the services category is a contract with the City of Carrollton for jail services. The capital purchases for the next fiscal year include a vehicle for the new SRO position, a digital evidence server, and a crime disruptor software, which will allow us the ability to analyze historical crime data to discover patterns and to stay proactive in our public safety efforts. The transfer out category is for our vehicle replacement program. Once this is fully funded, it will help stabilize the fund by not having the large outflow on capital expenditures when it's time to replace the vehicles. We will be a stable transfer out to the vehicle maintenance program. So in summary, for the Crime Control and Prevention District, the revenues for the district are estimated to be $5,455,000,000, and the expenditures are $4,696,000. This is an overview of the Crime Prevention District, and this agenda item is the public hearing and approval of the proposed Crime Control and Prevention District budget as required by Chapter 363 of the Local Government Code. Chief Tristan is here to answer any questions. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have on the crime control.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. We have anyone wishing to address the council would sign on the register. I do have it here, so if there's anybody else who wants to sign or to address us, they can. We will call people in the order that they have registered. Each individual is limited to 5 minutes and a maximum of 1 hour. So at this moment, we have one person that has signed up to speak, and that is Mamatha. You're okay? Okay, thank you. You want to sign up? Okay, come on. I will sign you up because I have all of your information here.
Okay. Am I ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Again,
My name is Subbu Venkat. I live at 933 Brentwood Drive. I just came for the Diwali thing. I was going to leave, but then when I heard this, it's an interesting topic because I did do my I-Lead at CISD, so I know something about this. The question I have to Chief Tristan and to the council is, the CISD map is different from the Coppell map. So there are kids who live in Irving, who live in Valley Ranch, who come to schools here, for example, Lakeside and all that. So if we are going to pay for the SRO, if you take the instance of Lee Elementary and the other new school coming up in Irving, CISD is actually paying Irving around $200,000 per year for the SROs. So my question is, it's all dollars. It doesn't matter who's paying it. But my question is it not going to be uneven when some of the Coppell residents in their city taxes are funding the security needs of Irving children and Valley Ranch children? That's all I'm asking. You see where I'm going with the math? Or do you want me to play the math?
No, I think we understand what you're...
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need to stand here or go back?
No, you go back, and we appreciate it. Anyone else wanting to speak? Okay, I will turn it over to the council for any questions or comments. Chief Tristan, you want to come down? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good. You want to address the question?
I'm not quite sure I understood the question. The citizens of Irving are the school district is paying the funding for the officers in.
They pay a portion.
They pay a portion, yes.
But the schools that we take care of are not Coppell ISD. All of the schools. We are only taking care of the schools that are physically in our.
That is correct. We only have authority to provide services, police services, within our jurisdiction, which is the city limits of Coppell. And so those are the only schools that we assign officers to.
And when people from outside the city are in our city, we protect them.
That is correct. That is correct. We don't, if whatever offense or crime or we police our city, and so it doesn't matter where you live. As if an offense occurs in our jurisdiction, then that will investigate that offense, which includes the students.
Thank you. And could you also talk just a little bit about the partnership that there is between the city and, we heard a lot about it, was it 2 meetings ago? When the CISD came and you guys kind of did a joint presentation. Could you talk a little bit about the partnership that we have with CISD?
We have an outstanding partnership with CISD that has it has been going on for years. This particular year was challenging in the sense of planning due to what's happening throughout our country with the shootings that have occurred, particularly in schools. So we've been working closely with them in planning on how do we, evaluating our protocols, our policies, our procedures on how we respond to train, how do we train their teachers, how do we train their staff. We are in the process of doing that, training in the past we used to just train the new teachers, what we call the standard response protocol in case of an active shooter. Now we're refreshing everyone, and that's a process that has taken time. We've also been meeting with them preparing for football games. That is a huge event that occurs every Friday night or whatever the season, whenever the games occur. And that's a lot of people that come in, and it's not just people from the city of Coppell. Obviously, they come from everywhere. So we're preparing for all of that. We're staffing up for those events. We will have approximately 16 officers at our first game coming up this Friday. Residents and visitors should be prepared to have backpacks searched. I'm not sure if they're going to allow backpacks, but if they are, I think they're going to search purses, backpacks, and things of that nature, as you would in any event that you go in Dallas-Fort Worth these days. So there are some changes that will be taking place as far as protocols on to ensure safety of everyone that's there, including, of course, the students and the players and bands and everything else. So this has been an ongoing planning and meetings since, early spring, and we'll continue to evaluate throughout the school year to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep up with as things occur within our country and throughout society.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I just want to say I appreciate you keeping us up to speed. I know it's a tough job to balance protecting our community with allowing us to have a free society and people being able to get in and out of the school when hundreds of kids are coming and going. So I appreciate the extra effort to make sure we understood what's going on.
The staff is hard at work, and we all know the priorities and the protocols and what our job is, and trying to be sensitive to that is a fine balance, but that's what we do every day. So thank you.
Mayor, may I make a clarification? The SRO program is funded by the sales tax, not property taxes. So this is paid by the businesses. About 65% of our sales tax collections come from the business community.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to close the public hearing and approve item number 11.
Second by Councilmember Hinojosa Smith. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
The next item is item 12. It's a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. And this particular item, we are only receiving comment, so there will only be a motion to close the public hearing. So we will receive public comment concerning the proposed 2018-2019 tax rate of $0.5695. And
I'll try to get through this one without getting tongue-tied. Pursuant to Section 2606 of the Texas Property Tax Code, when a tax rate exceeds the notice and hearing limit, the governing body must hold 2 public hearings on that proposal. Tonight is the first public hearing, with the second public hearing being scheduled to be held on September 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m. The property tax is divided into 2 different parts. We have a maintenance and operations portion, and that is what's used to fund the operations of the city. And then we have an interest and sinking portion, and that's used to pay for the debt that's been incurred by the city. The proposed rate for fiscal year 18-19 is 0.5695, with 0.447342 or 78.55% being used to fund the operations, and 0.122158 or 21.45% being used to fund debt service. This is a 1 penny reduction from the tax rate of last year. Since fiscal year 11-12, that's been 7 years, the tax rate has been reduced 12.096 cents over that time period. This proposed rate is the lowest rate since 1990, when the tax rate was 0.56. The value of a penny on the tax rate is about $759,000. The average taxable home value for those homes in Dallas is $385,146, and for those in Denton County, it's $326,723. Currently, our taxable value is $7.59 billion. It's up 8.44% from the prior year. The current breakdown is 58.6% residential and 41.4% business commercial. In the mid-90s, 1995 approximately, that breakdown was 80% residential and 20% commercial. Now we're going to tag team it, and Mike is going to go, Mr. Land is going to go over the state-mandated property value study.
My name is still Mike. One of the things that we did during our work session that y'all I think found valuable and asked me to go ahead and talk a little bit about tonight was the property value study. Many people talk about the appraisal process and the fact that the appraisals are going up in the market and everything along those lines. And just want to take a few minutes just to explain something that happens that's beyond us. The property value study is a legislatively mandated process. The Texas Property Code mandates, so I'm going to read this because it's very specific, for the purpose of school funding, that the Comptroller of Public Accounts conducts a property value study. When they do that study, it is to verify legally required property values are representing the current market value. So, the state legislature, the state requires the state comptroller to go in and do an analysis of the market values in the communities throughout the state of Texas. The reason they do that is because that's how they determine how they are going to fund education in the state of Texas in each local community. So what they do is they do a statistically random sample of 5% more or less of the market, so they can have a range from 95% to 105%. And this is all on the residential side because in the state of Texas, the legislature does not require commercial properties to register their values when they sell property. So like when you and I sell a home, that value goes in commercial property does not do that. They're not required to do that. So it's based on the residential. So go ahead, Jennifer. So why is this done? To ensure equitable distribution of state funding. So the situation is if the appraisal district is artificially low, the state will verify what it should be and then adjust what it funds to the local school district. So, and what they're trying to do is prevent the gaming of the system. So let's say everybody talks about their taxes too high and my market value is too high and everything like that. So our appraisal district says, okay, well, we'll just lower the value. The state, because of this legal requirement, goes in and says, no, you don't get to play that game. We're going to adjust what we fund to your local school district as a result of you not putting the correct market value on those homes. So the other piece is that the property value study is used by the state to measure the appraisal district's performance. So, and everything that you hear talking about the appraisal districts, it is dictated by the state legislature about how they are to conduct business. I think this is pretty interesting in the fact that the state comptroller Glenn Hager put out a report back in January of 2018, and it's online. You can find it, and he actually tells you how to appeal the appraisal process. So here's one side of the equation that says this is how we have to do it, and here's a way for you to appeal it. So, but that's how the appraisal system works. So when Jennifer was talking about our values, they are based on market information, and they are legally required to do that. So go ahead. So this is another piece of interesting information. The city of Coppell this past year, 2016-17, assessed $38 million roughly in property taxes. CISD, because of the Robin Hood recapture, is paid to the state in that year $29.6 million. So that's $29.6 million of your tax dollars that go to the state that do not come back to the city, to the CISD. To put that in perspective, this year, Jennifer, I think we're right at about $43 million in terms of collections, I believe.
Yes.
CISD is estimating that they're going to be paying the state $45 million. So in your tax bill, which is made up of 50% of the CISD, they are paying the CISD, our residents, including those in Irving, are paying to the state more than we collect as a city in property tax. I think that's a fascinating story to tell for people to understand. So just to put that in perspective, Coppell received a whopping $6,000 from the state for law enforcement officer standards and education, while we paid the state $1.47 million in fees. Administrative fees for $823,000, court fees. So when you pay your ticket, if you get a fine, there is money that the state collects through the city of Coppell that we pay to the state, and that equated to about $526,000. And then everybody talks about the red light in terms of the fees that get paid for that. The red light amount of money that goes to the state, which they don't talk a whole lot about, is $128,000. So that money, if you were to ask the state, what do they do with that money? It's supposed to be going to emergency care centers, I believe, in terms of emergency rooms. They have spent $0. They use that to help balance their budget since it's been in, and we started collecting ours in, I think, 2008, 2007. So just to put that in perspective, not that you would translate that directly into a penny. Remember when Jennifer was saying 1 penny generates about $750,000? So 1 penny of our administrative fee, if we had the administrative fees back, that equates to a penny on our tax roll, in essence, that we pay to the state that we don't get anything back on. So it is a complicated process. It is sometimes very complex, but the message is very simple. When the state starts talking about our taxes, we need to make sure we understand why we have an appraisal system the way it's set up that it's done, so that the state can fund education, and that the state of Texas does not provide funds to local entities. And Coppell is an example. We are sending money to the state and not receiving any back. So, Jennifer.
Okay, that's just our brief overview of the property tax rate and the assessed value and how assessed values are established. I'll be happy to answer any kind of questions you might have on the tax rate.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and 2 people have signed up to speak. The first one is Lahavi. Okay. They indicated they were 4. And Joe Shirley. And please remember to state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Joe Shirley, 582 Villawood Lane. Mayor, council, staff, appreciate the opportunity to speak on the proposed tax rate. Appreciate that the city manager has told us how the state ensures that the appraisal values are fair and accurate. The effective rate for Coppell is 0.545314, which is 2.4186 cents under the proposed tax rate. So the effective rate, as you all know, is the rate at which you would collect the same number of tax dollars from the property you taxed last year, this year. And then all of the new properties that come online, you'd get that in addition. So effectively, if you set the effective rate, then you'd get the same number of tax dollars from previous property as you did last year. The problem is that you reduce the rate by 1 cent, but that's only 29.25% of the way to get to the effective rate. And so basically, we're being overtaxed. And, I'll speak about the budget later, but the thing is I highly recommend that you set your budget so that you can tax on the effective rate, so we're not overtaxed just simply because our property values went up. And I think that, the city should be able to live within your budget, and you talked about all the expenses and everything like that. I don't think that's changed a tremendous amount from last year to this year. And so I highly suggest that you adopt the effective rate and adjust your budget to take that into consideration. So thanks for your consideration.
No one else has signed up to speak, so I will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Councilmember Hinojosa Smith, all in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill, none opposed, motion carries.
And as a reminder, we have one more, but the next public hearing on the tax rate will be on the 4th of September at 6 o'clock. So item 13 is to receive public comment concerning the proposed 2018-19 municipal budget. So I will open the public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of our budget process, a public hearing is to be conducted by the City Council to receive public input concerning the proposed 2018-19 municipal budget. As part of this public hearing, I'd like to give a brief overview of what's in the budget for the next fiscal year. The department directors and their staffs begin working on the budget in early March and submit the proposals by mid-April. Departmental budget reviews with the city manager's office are held in May. Over the summer months, we hold 3 budget workshops with the council, and then we did file a proposed budget on August 6th, 2018. After this public hearing tonight, the adoption for the 2018-19 budget is scheduled for the next regular council meeting on September 11th, 2018. The total general fund revenues are projected to be approximately $66.9 million for the next fiscal year. Property taxes are $34 million of that and make up about 51%. Franchise taxes are 6% of the revenues And these are the amounts that are paid by businesses to the city to use our city streets and rights of way. The water sewer reimbursement is an administrative charge to the water sewer fund to the general fund for personnel time, computer usage, legal services, for anything that's paid by the general fund that's associated with the water sewer fund. This is about 3%. Sales tax is estimated to be $18.4 million next fiscal year, or about 27% of the budget. This is a very unpredictable revenue source, and we try to be optimistic but conservative when we budget for this. And like I said previously, approximately 65% of the sales tax collections are from our non-traditional retail, the business-to-business type sales. Court fines make up $1.1 million, or 2% of our budget. Permits and fees are estimated at about $2.2 million. And then we have an other category, which is about 8%. And that consists of those revenues that don't fit into the other major categories. This includes our ambulance service, any kind of grants we may receive, E911 revenue, miscellaneous, our interest earnings, and then any other type of reimbursement that we get that's other than water sewer. Our general fund expenditures are estimated to be $66.3 million for next fiscal year. Included in this budget is a transfer to the Infrastructure Maintenance Fund in the amount of $3,575,000. We have two ways we look at it. This first one is by division. Our public safety division is approximately $26 million, or 39% of the general fund expenditures. This includes our police, fire, emergency management, building inspections, municipal court, environmental health, and animal services. General government is our administrative departments of the city. That's about $14.7 million, or 22% of the projected expenditures. Also included in the general government category are those types of items where once they're charged out, they'll be moved to the other categories. But as of right now, we have intern program, we have tuition reimbursement, we have contingency items that fall and are budgeted in the general government category. The cultural and recreation category is our library and our parks department. This accounts for $13.4 million, or 20% of the expenditures. And then public works includes our engineering, our facilities, streets, fleet, traffic control, and our planning department. This category is $12.1 million, or 19% of the budget. Included in this category is that $3,575,000 that we transfer from the general fund to infrastructure maintenance for street and alley replacements. Any type of infrastructure that needs maintenance, we budget for it, and then we transfer it out into the maintenance fund. Another way we can look at our expenditures is by classification. Our salary and benefits are $41.4 million, or 62% of the budgeted expenditures. The city is a service-type organization, so that will result in the largest part of our costs being associated with personnel. We have 9 full-time equivalents being added to the general fund for fiscal year 18-19. Of that, 8 of them are firefighters that are associated with the opening of Fire Station number 4. This is just half of the required number. We're bringing on 8 of 16 this year, and then we'll bring on 8 of the remaining 8 the next fiscal year. We are increasing a part-time position to full-time in the finance department, and we're increasing the customer service hours at the Biodiversity Center. We did have a very good year in our self-insurance, so there has been no budgeted increase associated with insurance costs in this proposed budget. Supplies are about $2.5 million, or 4% of the budget. Maintenance is about 5%, and that's at $3.2 million. Our services category is $12.8 million, or 19%. This is the category that includes our professional service contracts, our telephone services, our utilities, our electric, printing, legal, audit services. Everything like that falls within the services category. Our capital outlay is budgeted at about approximately $2 million, or 3%. The major purchases in capital for this next fiscal year are a spider lift for the facilities department. We're replacing the HVAC system at Fire Station number 2. We're extending the fiber network on Bethel from Royal to Freeport. We have some remodeling to Fire Stations 2 and 3. We have 2 early outdoor warning sirens. We're replacing the AV equipment in the fire training room. We've got some replacement fitness equipment at the core and the community center. We have some replacement vehicles for various departments, and then we have some replacement equipment for the Parks and Rec department. The transfer category is $4.4 million, or 7%. The major transfers that we are doing are the IMF at $3.5 million and the Capital Replacement Fund at $820,000. The debt service fund, this is used to account for the principal and interest on our outstanding debt. As you can see, 99% of the fund is from property taxes, and we get a little bit of interest earnings. The expenditures are associated with servicing our debt. We have interest on the bonds of $2,673,000 for the next fiscal year. We have some paying agent fees at about $10,000, and then we have bond principal of $6,670,000 for the next fiscal year. We do have a fairly rapid debt repayment at 71.2% for 10 years and 89.6% over the 15 years. Now, these have decreased since the prior year due to the issuance of our 2018 bonds, which we just did in July of this year. We budget for special revenue and internal service funds. We have 20 funds that fall within that special revenue category. Each of these funds has a dedicated revenue source, and the expenditures are restricted to a specific purpose. We have 16 special revenues. We have 2 associated with our CRDC, and then we have our self-insurance fund and our capital replacement fund. Of this category, there are 3 funds that receive their source of income from sales tax. We have the infrastructure maintenance that accounts for 1/4% of the sales tax. We have the crime control and prevention district, which is another 1/4 of the sales tax. And then we have our CRDC, which is 1/2% of the sales tax. Since we are self-insured on our health insurance, we have to account for it in a separate fund, and that's the self-funded health plan. And then also our Rolling Oaks Memorial Cemetery is classified as a special revenue fund. Now I'm going to let Kim Tian, our Assistant Director of Finance, go over our water sewer fund.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening. The Water and Sewer Fund is classified as an enterprise fund. The enterprise funds are used when the intent is to recover the cost of providing goods and services through user fees and charges. The water and sewer revenues for the proposed budget are estimated to be $20.5 million. The major source of revenues is the sale of water. The city receives 60% of the budget, or $12.4 million, from this revenue source. The next largest revenue source is the charge for the sewer treatment service. The fund receives 37%, or $7.5 million, from this source. These 2 revenue sources make up 97%, or about $19.9 million of the total projected revenues. The remaining 3%, or approximately $600,000 in revenues, is comprised of interest income, impact fees, and other miscellaneous revenues. And we'll go over expenditures both by division and then by classification. The proposed expenses for the Water and Sewer Fund are $18.1 million. The first division is the utility operations, and this division is responsible for field operations and is about 18%, or $3.3 million, of the total expenses. Utility billing is the next division. It's responsible for billing and collections, customer service, and meter reading, and it makes up 4% of the total expenses, or about $787,000. The next is the cost of water, and this is the cost center is used to purchase water from Dallas Water Utilities, and it is our largest cost center at $6.3 million and represents 35% of the total expenses. The cost of sewer division is where we budget the amount that we pay to Trinity River Authority for the sewer treatment services that it provides to Coppell. The cost is $4.3 million, or about 24% of the total budget. Since the Water and Sewer Fund is operated like a business, the debt is recorded in the fund rather than in a separate fund like the general obligation debt. This division is where we budget the fund's annual principal and interest payments. The outstanding debt for the Water and Sewer Fund is anticipated to cost $1.1 million and makes up about 6% of the budget. And I would like to note that this is the first time since 1999 in July when we issued some bonds to fund water and sewer projects. Previously, we had been operating on a pay-as-you-go. The Combined Services Division is the last cost center, and it represents about 13% or $2.4 million to the Water and Sewer Fund expenses. This department or division includes such things as the general property and liability insurance, unemployment claims, and this is where we pay the general fund the reimbursement that Jennifer previously mentioned in the amount of $1.8 million for the services that the general fund provides to the Water Sewer Fund. And now we'll show you, talk to you about the classifications. 80% or $14.5 million of the expenses are classified as service type expenses. This includes the cost of water that we pay Dallas Water Utilities, the Trinity River Authority payment that we make for the sewer service, sewer treatment service, and the annual debt service payment. It also would include the $1.8 million that we provide to the general fund for the services it provides us. The next category is salaries and benefits, which makes up 10% or $1.7 million of the water fund's total expenses. There are currently 22.5 employees that maintain the water and sewer system for the city. The last area is transfers, which makes up about 2% of the budget, and this is where we transfer to the capital replacement fund, and then we transfer to the capital projects fund for the advanced meter project. The remaining 8% of the expenses are made up of supplies, maintenance, and capital. The major capital budgeted in the Water Sewer Fund is for replacing vehicles and equipment for utility operations, replacing a fence at the Water Tower number 1, and paving the driveway at the Sandy Lake Lift Station.
Okay, this graph shows the expenses of the entire city by function. The total budget of all funds, the water sewer, the debt service, the general fund, all those special revenue funds, is a little more than $131 million. The breakdown by function shows that 24% of that $131 million is associated with public safety expenses. The next category is public works at 21%, our cultural and rec at 18%, the water and sewer fund is 14%, general government makes up 11%, debt service is 7%, and our self-insurance is 5% of the total expenses of the city. If you factor out the IMF fund, which is $15.6 million of street reconstruction projects, in the 5.8 of the self-insurance fund, since it doesn't apply directly to a function until it's actually spent, we're now looking at $109.9 million of expenses. That now makes it where public safety is 28% of the total expenses. Culture and rec is 22%. Our water sewer fund is 17%. General government is 13%. Public works is 11%. You see how public works dropped from 21 to 11 because we factored out those street reconstruction projects. Debt service is now 9%. This concludes the overview of the 2018-19 budget. I'd like to thank council for all their work during the summer months on this. And I will turn the presentation over to Mr. Land for any additional comments.
Mayor, I'd like to say again, thank you for the work that y'all did do. Thank you to Jennifer and her staff during this. As you know, just to give an example how the budget works, we've already started putting the calendar together for the 1920 calendar for the budget process. So it is a constant, everyday, something that we look at, monitor, and watch. And we do appreciate the support for the staff that you have provided us. We believe the budget represents an accurate representation of what it takes to support the quality of services that the city expects from us and that you expect from us as well. So we're happy to answer any questions. Not today.
Again, this is a public hearing. This is a time for us to take comments from the citizens. We have one person that has signed up to speak, and that is Mr. Shirley. Thank you again for coming.
Well, thank you for holding the event. Joe Shirley, 582 Villawood Lane. Mayor, council, staff, just wanted to reiterate that I would really appreciate it if you would consider adjusting the budget so you can be within the amount of taxes collected using the effective rate. Also, I would like to know, and it may be published somewhere, how many dollars are being collected more with the proposed tax rate as opposed to the effective rate. In other words, how many more tax dollars are we collecting using the proposed rate as if we were instead of using the effective rate? But anyway, I really think we should be staying within our means and not budgeting more just simply because the appraised values have gone up. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to close. Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing on item number 13.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Long. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. And again, there will be another public hearing on September 4th at 6 p.m. So now we will move to item 14. Consider approval of bid number Q0819-01 to Joel Brown and Company, LLC in the amount of $420,950 plus $30,000 for milestone incentives for a total contract amount of $450,950 to expand the parking lot at the Coppell Senior and Community Center at Grapevine Springs, and authorizing the city manager to sign all necessary documents. And we have Mr. Elias here to walk us through this item. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're excited tonight to bring forward a recommendation to expand the parking lot at the Coppell Senior and Community Center. My presentation is going to give a brief history of the center, then I'll show some details of where the parking lot will expand, and then we'll wrap it up with the recommendation. So this photo is current. This is taken from 2018 photo. The original facility, the site plan for the original facility was approved by council in 2007. That site plan did include 2 areas for future expansion of the parking lot. Those areas were on the west side of the west parking lot, the southwest parking lot, as well as on the north side of the northern parking lot. And this was approved by council in 2007. The facility opened in 2010. It opened with 73 parking spaces, 4 handicap spaces, and 12 shared parking spaces. And what I mean by shared parking spaces, there's a parking lot over here kind of on the east side of the facility. It's actually a parking lot for Grapevine Springs Park, but it's attached to the Senior Center parking lot, and it does work for some overflow. There's only 12 spaces there. In the first year of operation, the center had about 500 patrons. They also had about 70 community rentals. So bringing it to current numbers, currently the center has about 2,000 patrons. We're operating about 160 community rentals per year. So in 2015, the expansion of the parking lot was added to the CRDC 5-year plan, and it was funded for 2017-18. We hired a consultant earlier this year to begin designing and developing the construction documents so that we can go out to bid for this project. This picture shows the location of the expansion. It is going to be on the west side of the existing southwest parking lot. I've had several questions on that throughout this week, so I want to make that very clear. We're not talking about expanding on the north side of the facility at this time. We're only looking at the west side. So this is a zoom in on or a detail of what we will be expanding on that west parking lot. The expansion is going to include 56 new spaces and 6 handicap spaces that will be converted. And what I'm referring to there, these parking spaces right here are existing right now. They're not dedicated as handicap parking spaces. There's only 2 handicap spaces on this side of the facility. So we're going to convert these all to ADA handicap parking spaces. The rest of the parking will be all new, 56 new spaces. So after the expansion is complete, the parking for the facility will be 121 regular spaces, 10 handicap spaces, and the 12 shared spaces for Grapevine Springs Park. When we put the project out to bid, we added an alternate bid to do a temporary parking lot just for the construction time frame. It was a asphalt parking lot to be installed on the north side of the existing parking lot. It was to be removed at the completion of the project. The reason we put that in there is when we met with council in work session in May, there was some concern about available parking during the construction phase of the project. And this exhibit shows the area in red is going to be the construction zone. That area will be closed down to parking while under construction. So we put this out just as an alternate to see what it would come back in. We are not recommending going with the alternate bid in our recommendation tonight. So to summarize it, the Parks and Recreation Department recommends approval of bid number Q0819-01 to Joel Brown and Company, LLC, in the amount of $420,950. We are also asking for $30,000 in milestone incentives. What that is that we have a $1,000 a day bonus for every day that the contractor can get this project completed before 90 days. We've got a 90-day estimate on the project, so we don't think it's very feasible to do it in less than 60 days, so we're going to go ahead and ask council to award that $30,000. We would only use whatever he finished early, and it's a $1,000 a day bonus. It is also a $1,000 a day penalty for every day late after 90 days. So the total amount we are asking council to award tonight is $450,950, and that will be to expand the parking lot. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions or comments? Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I had one question. You said incentives are milestones. I'm sorry, but it's really only the final completion date that we're going to award any compensation for early completion, or it's not a milestone based along the course of the project?
That's correct.
Okay, so just the final date is the only date that really matters.
Yeah, it was based on 90 days. Anything earlier than 90 days, we will give him $1,000. We don't anticipate him being able to do it in less than 30 or in 60 days or less. If he does, we would be happy to pay that $1,000 bonus. We would then get the city manager to authorize what would the remaining balance would be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item number 14.
Second by Councilmember Matthews. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item 15, consider approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Business Regulations, adding Article 6-18, Bicycle Share, to establish regulations and making it unlawful to leave a bicycle, an electric bike, or an electric scooter on the street, sidewalk, right-of-way, or park and on other public property, providing for relocation, providing for a relocation fee, providing for a docked shared system and regulations, providing the establishment, providing for repealing clause, providing for severability clause, providing for a penalty clause, and providing for an effective date and authorizing the mayor to sign. I should have had you read this one. Welcome, Mr. Steer.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This item is to discuss bike sharing and go through the proposed ordinance with you. We brought the original idea before you in March and April of this year. At those meetings, we discussed different forms of bike sharing and the possible impact the dockless systems could have on Coppell. At the end of the April meeting, staff was given direction to prohibit dockless bikes and set up a permitting system for docked bike share companies to apply to locate their systems here within our city. So we brought forward a draft of this ordinance in July. Council had questions and some more information was necessary. That information was conveyed in the August 14th work session. I'll briefly walk you through our journey to that point. So what is bike sharing? There are three systems: point-to-point, ride and return, and distributed. Point-to-point is a dock system where you check out a bike with a deposit, then return the bike to the same or another kiosk. And these could be located in city parks, in Old Town, in hotels, potentially on properties on the west side of town, such as office warehouses. Ride and return is basically the same thing, but only one kiosk exists, so therefore you don't have to rebalance your bikes. Dockless or distributed is the dockless bike share that's being heavily criticized in the Metroplex. Concerns relate to the abundance of them, the safety hazards they create if they're left within the right-of-way, and the overall visual clutter they create. We made a trip to Dallas and saw firsthand this point. So why do we need to regulate or even address this topic? Well, the first is the Campion Trail connection is expected to be complete in October. We're directly abutting Dallas and Irving that currently allow dockless bikes. And then Cypress Water Station is coming in 2022, making dockless bikes or making bicycles a viable mode of transportation for the last mile leg of the commute. Again, dockless bikes are inevitable, so we need to set up some regulations to control them. So we are seeing these in town. On the right is our Lime Bike app. That's a picture of my phone. The limes show the actual bike locations, and so you can see we currently have these on the outskirts of the city, and we found one on Cresside Drive. That sat there for a couple of days, and we finally located it in the back warehouse area, called Lime Bike, and it took them several days to get out and pick it up. So we need to have regulations in place to address this type of situation that we'll see more and more of. There's a couple more pictures of the bike. So we've all seen the abundance of news articles and local media coverage related to the topic. I'll flip through these. You've seen them before. But you can see article after article of bike sharing wars, cluttering sidewalks, bikes being submerged in ponds, vandalized, and what other cities are doing. So when we were asked at the April meeting, or when we asked you at the April meeting, we left with the understanding to prohibit the dockless bikes from our community. So we prohibited them, and then we're establishing a permitting system for docked bike share. So we looked at NACTO, which is an advisory board for transportation operations. We looked to them for guidance of what should be included in the ordinance. And so first, we prohibited dockless bike companies from dropping off bikes in our city. And then we set up a way to permit dock systems through an application and review process. The application would come through the DRC process and would ultimately be approved by the Director of Community Development after it's vetted through our process. So the next section of the ordinance relates to the standards to be applied. So standards for manufacturing and making sure they're structurally sound, making sure they adhere to traffic laws, they return them to the kiosk and encourage helmet use, set up insurance and liability, make sure the company educates customers on how to safely ride or operate a bicycle in Coppell, including all applicable laws. Pricing needs to be clearly defined. Contact information needs to be on the bikes. 24-hour customer service number needs to be provided. The operator needs to have an operations center within 30 miles from the city. And we had discussed that this was a reasonable distance for the operators to be located without necessarily having to locate themselves within the city. And then establish a maximum fleet size, and that would be at the point of the application. Share records with the city of bike maintenance and collisions, and then we reviewed application fees in the work session. Basically, we went through and looked at our surrounding cities or the cities with a docked bike share, and none of them had application fees associated with them because they were somewhat partners with docked bike share companies. But more recently, the dockless companies, these cities have adopted ordinance to regulate the dockless, and they've established fees of $500. Denton has $500 per first 50 bikes, and then $750 for 50 to 100 bikes. Plano has a fee of $500, and then Dallas has a fee of $776. That's the initial fee, and then you add on $18 for each bike, with a $388 annual renewal fee. So we're proposing a one-time fee of $500 plus $25 per proposed kiosk and a $250 annual renewal fee. That's consistent with our when we take in zoning applications and site plans and bring them through this similar process. So another component of our ordinance is the docked bike share operation. So all bikes can't be left within the right-of-way or public property past 6 a.m. of the next day. We place the responsibility on the bike company, not on the operator or not on the riders of the bikes. Parking instructions need to be provided by the bike company. If the code enforcement notices a bike out of place or parked incorrectly, then they'll notify the operator and give them 3 hours notice to fix the situation, and that's between the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if it's on a weekend or outside of those hours, or if it's on a weekend, holiday, or outside of those hours, then they'll be given 12 hours to comply. Again, we reiterated that no dockless bikes would be allowed within the right-of-way to be left there. Daily rebalancing of bicycles would be required for our ordinance. We put that in there in case that they're not being properly managed. We have the ability to step in and help. Remove unsafe bicycles within 24 hours from their fleet. If, say, there's a broken bike, then we'd expect that it be removed and replaced. We need a unique identifier visible on each bike. And then we will assess a fee for those bikes that we pick up from the right-of-way. We're proposing a $50 fee to be brought with our fee schedule in September. And that's similar to our surrounding cities. Fort Worth has a $25 fee. Denton has a $50 fee. And Highland Park just enacted their ordinance. It's a $30 fee for the first bike, $50 for the second bike, $75 for the third bike, and then $100 for each subsequent bike. So we'd also written in our ordinance a performance bond requirement at the time of application and a revocation clause within the ordinance. So when we had completed writing the ordinance, we looked at it again, we rewrote it, and added the dockless motorized scooters because they had just arrived in the city of Dallas. Actually, this is a picture of San Antonio. The Alamo's right over here. And then there's pictures of scooters that were in downtown Dallas there. So we included them within the definition section of the ordinance, and then we prohibited them just as we have the dockless bikes. And so these are actually prohibited from operating within the city today, but we wanted this to be clear and reinforced within this ordinance. So, long story short, we're recommending approval of the ordinance to make it unlawful to leave a bike, an e-bike, or an e-scooter on a street, sidewalk, right-of-way, park, or other public property, and to establish regulations for docked bicycle share systems. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I've got Suzanne and Bob in the audience to help with the tough questions.
Thank you very much. I know we have talked about this for months, as you have indicated. So are there any questions or comments or anything that anybody wants to specifically talk about on this particular one? Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an observation. And Matt, thank you very much. We've kind of drugged this one along, but I think it was a good thing to do. Dallas did enact a ordinance regulating the rental bicycles, but they failed to include any of the other methods that you have included here. And as soon as they enacted the ordinance, the bicycles disappeared, and within a matter of a few weeks, electric scooters were appearing all over the place. So they've got the same problem now that they have with bicycles because they didn't include those in their ordinance. So I applaud you for having the foresight to include that. I think this is going to go a long way to creating a much more livable area. The areas that have the docked bicycles are very clean, very well kept, quite contrary to what we were seeing in downtown Dallas every day and are seeing it with the scooters. So thank you for your work, and I'm very confident this is the right way for us to take the city of Coppell.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem Long.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, want to thank Matt for the good work that he's done. I think it's time for him to move on to another project. I think that we have beat this horse to death, so it's time to take the saddle off, put the pony in the barn, and approve item number 15.
So is that a motion?
That is a motion,
That
yes.
is a motion.
I move that we approve item 15.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Mays. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Item 16, consider approval of a resolution determining the necessity for acquisition of a tract of land and right-of-way located along North Point Drive for public uses, necessities, and/or purposes of construction, maintenance of a public safety facility, public access and right-of-way thereto, authorizing the city manager, you don't want to do this, do you? The city attorney to file an eminent domain petition to acquire property described and authorizing the mayor to sign. Mr. Hager, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I visited with you about this in executive session. You've also been informed and briefed by the fire chief. We have a potential fire station site on North Point Drive, and we have made every effort to talk to the current property owners. They made an offer for us to purchase the required right-of-way. We accepted that offer, sent them a letter, and have not heard anything else from them. I informed you last month that we would make one final effort. We did send them a letter. I reported to you at the last meeting. Again, we had not heard from them regarding our acceptance of their offer, and I told you that if we did not hear from them, I would seek authority to use eminent domain, but only in the last resort. If you approve this item number 16 tonight, I will send them the formal letter that's required by state law informing them of our desire to acquire the property for the reasons of constructing a new fire station along with the driveway and the right-of-way that's required in order for us to have access on North Point. If I do not hear back from them after 20 days, I will again gently nudge them along by sending them a final notice, and then we would be eligible to file an eminent domain proceeding in late September if those efforts did not bring fruition an agreement with the property owner, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Will you do us just a favor and tell us exactly where this property is and its...
Yes. I might even have Kevin come down and tell you. The Wagon Wheel Park, where our water tower is, there's some open space that's available, property that the city owns, but that property doesn't have actual access onto North Point, and this required use of our eminent domain authorities to acquire an additional footage up to the right-of-way so that we can complete the fire station, have access for ingress and egress at North Point.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that property is presently vacant and has this...
It's an odd configuration of property. It's not buildable. It runs adjacent from basically the water tower eastward along North Point Drive, and it's basically a drainage area, and it's unbuildable and has no other use, and it's just an odd configuration of property. We're not taking any prime real estate for this purpose, but it's really property that's adjacent to the right-of-way now, but needs to be expanded so that we can use this open space to accommodate the fire station.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Councilmember Hill.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 16.
Second by Councilmember Roden. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Roden, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carried.
Item 17 is the city manager's report, project updates, and future agendas.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few updates this evening. The police department fence around the parking lot is under construction and should be finished by mid-September. Freeport continues to make progress, though it be slowly right now, and that's primarily because we have 3 utility companies we're working with, Frontier, Zayo, and Texas Sterling. While the project has been in the talks with them for over a year and a half, there are still some utilities that have to be moved. So with Frontier, we're having to lower the line. That's about 2 weeks. And then Zayo and Texas Sterling, they're having to look to make sure that the bridge work doesn't interfere with their line, so they're having to go and dig the line first and then locate it, and hopefully it's in an okay position where it can move forward. If not, they're going to have to relocate those lines. So that's what's happening there. Wagon Wheel, if you recall, the council awarded the remodeling of the restroom and the concession stand. That work began yesterday. And at Magnolia Park, demo began yesterday as far as the park playground equipment. And that is one of the playgrounds that will be receiving the cover. As you all know, in the budget that you're considering in the CRDC, we have, I think, 3 or 4 parks in 2018-19 that will start receiving covers over their playgrounds. Magnolia Park will be the first one to do that. Mayor, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Any questions for the city manager? Hearing none. Item 18, Mayor and Council reports. Upcoming events, it is board and commission time. So the City of Coppell, your City Council, are seeking residents who are passionate about their community and interested in participating in local government by serving on boards and commissions. Applications are available online through this Friday, August 31st. Applicants must be residents of the city for a minimum of 1 year and a registered voter in Coppell. There is a back-to-school party Thursday, September 6th at 10 a.m. for homeschoolers. Kick off the school year at the library. Come and network with other homeschool families and learn about the resources that the library has to offer. The kids will also learn some library skills, so it should be a fun activity. And then the fall music series starts on September 8th, and that is 7 to 9 p.m. Enjoy the night of music, Old Town Under the Stars. Bring blankets or chairs and grab a bite to eat from local food trucks. Complimentary popcorn will be available, and I don't know who the first item is, or the first group is, so go look online. Pardon me? Live 5. Thank you. Council and committee reports. Dallas Regional Mobility Coalition, Councilmember Roden.
Thank you, Mayor. Believe it or not, it's time to get ready for next year's state legislative session. We feel strongly that 2 of the major items that the state should be providing for us, first is education as mandated by the state constitution, but second is a system of roadways that works. If every individual municipality came up with their own roadways, we'd have a bad hodgepodge that wouldn't work. So the state needs to be involved. We have a lot of work educating state legislators that the state funding provided a couple of sessions ago, as the state has grown, just is not sufficient. There's a lot of work to be done educating the difference between managed lanes and toll lanes and all of those sorts of things. So we've started that process and are trying to identify the items that we will be attacking in the legislature on behalf of the municipalities that we represent. That's it.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Hill, Woven Health Clinic.
Thank you, Mayor. Woven Health Clinic is proud to announce that they recently signed a new 3-year partnership with UT Southwestern. The partnership expands the current one, which before only was integrated behavioral health and treatment of depression. This brand new partnership will bring additional resources to expand women's health care, data management, and reporting. It will also strengthen their ability to track patients' health outcomes. The executive director for Woven Health Clinic, Lisa Rigby, would personally like to invite you all to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony and open house in celebration of the expansion and remodel of their clinic. The festivities will be Friday, September 7th from 3 to 5, and they will be at their newly renovated and expanded clinic, which is located at Plaza 1, Suite 49, 1 Medical Parkway, Farmers Branch, Texas. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. MetroCrest Services, Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor. This morning, MetroCrest held a tie cutting ceremony, which was the equivalent of a ribbon cutting ceremony, opening Tracy's Ties, That's in a tongue-in-cheek response to the CEO's propensity to wear his own ties everywhere he goes. Tracy Eubanks is very proud of their tie corner, and so they've set up their own little shop there. That's in the resale shop, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that at the service luncheon in October. Speaking of that, that will be held on Monday, October 17th at the Marriott Courtyard in Carrollton. I believe invitations are going out all over the place right now, and you can also check at the MetroCrest online. The MetroCrest has had the opportunity to apply for over 20 grants in the last 3 months. They're very hopeful about winning those. That's literally funding that they can use for designated purposes. And we just recently participated with MetroCrest in the State Farm Neighborhood Assist Program, where State Farm awards $25,000 to 40 individual programs. And MetroCrest submitted their Summer Sack Hunger Program and is hoping to win. This provides healthy food for over 1,500 kids during the summer. And as of last Friday, which was the last day of voting, MetroCrest was in 23rd place out of 40, which means if everything keeps as it was, they will be awarded the $25,000. The final announcement of the 40 winners will be made on September 25th, and we're looking forward to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 20 is public service announcements. These are items of community interest. Does anybody have anything to announce? Okay. I stole your thunder. I apologize. Next time, let me know, and I will make sure you have your thunder. I would appreciate that. Okay. There is no necessary action from Executive Committee, so the time is 9:11, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.